Hi there, it's Hurley from Inklips. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm excited to share how to create some stamped pattern backgrounds on your cards. Now I've been doing this for a long time and it saves quite a bit of money rather than buying pattern paper, and you also get to add to the handmade feel of your card by stamping and creating your own backgrounds that are just stunning. I have 4 different examples in today's video, and one of them even shares a way to color in and stamp in images without using stamps, rather than just something you might have around your house. So stay tuned for that one at the end. Now this first card with these really colorful dots and this geometric pattern in the background uses this all-new halftone circle stamp set. Now it might look a little bit confusing at first, but once you see it in action I guarantee you will love it, and the sky is the limit with creating these backgrounds. So I'm adding some of the little dots that I want to use onto some acrylic blocks, and there are a variety of different sizes and different ways the dots go. And so I'm just adding those onto the acrylic blocks, and then I can start my stamping. So for all my stamping in this first card, I'm using a bunch of different colors of Simon Says Stamp inks. I'll have all those linked at my blog, you can find that link below. And I'm gonna stamp down using the largest little dot at first, and I'm adding it in about 3 different places onto the card. Now you can overlap or go on the edge if you want to, but starting out with less is better, and you can always add more dots later if you feel like you need it. Then I'm taking the second largest dot and I'm inking it up with a color that goes nicely with that pink, and then I'm going to stamp it kind of overlapping that pink, and check out the design you get right in between. It looks really awesome when you overlap these little dots on top of each other to get a new color but also a new and awesome design. Now I'm just really stamping these kind of free form, and I'm turning the little blocks so you don't get the same pattern every time, and making sure to stamp them all on different sides and stamp the colors pretty far apart from each other. Like I said earlier, adding less dots than you think is always a better thing, because you don't want to crowd the background with a certain one color, but you still want to make every little dot fit and not have too much white space in the end. So now I'm going in with this smaller little dot, and I ended up adding a ton of these little blue dots to kind of balance out some of the colors. And then I'm going to go back in with that orange, and like I said, you can kind of just fill in some of those white spaces, and the more you overlap with other dots, the cooler the design and background you'll have. So after I'm done stamping that orange, I'm going in with the largest dot that there is in this set, and I'm using a really light bluish color, and I'm stamping it kind of over top everything to fill in some of the white space and add some interest. And this is one of the last things that people's eyes will go to, but then in some of that white space, you'll still have a pattern and design, and you'll still have some things overlapping, but you can't really tell until later on. So that's it for that colorful background. I'm going to show how to finish those cards off in just a minute, but first I'm going to show a similar background using the same stamp set, however making this monochromatic look that fades down your card. For this I'm using the all-new crisp inks, which come in a set of 4 different monochromatic colors, so it takes out all the guesswork, and I'm using a bunch of different blues today. I'm starting out with the largest dot that I'm going to use and stamping that at the top. Again, I'm really overlapping these together in this background to get that cool design you can see in the center there. Now it might look a little bit weird at first since I'm stamping some of the dots on top of each other and stuff, but you really want to crowd these together in a tight little row of space without making them look too uniform, and then you get this really awesome effect. Now I'm going in with the second largest dot and the second darkest color, and again I'm really overlapping on top of that darker color and kind of pushing them really close together to create a lot of color but also a lot of really cool texture. Something that I really like about these all-new inks is that when they dry, they kind of give this velvety, kind of chalky almost look, and once they dry, they kind of create almost a little bit of texture when you rub your finger over this, so it looks really awesome in the end and gives the effect of texture even though you just stamped this whole background yourself. Now I also like to bring some of that lighter color up into the darker color, so you'll see some of the dots that I stamped do end up going a little bit higher than the others, and that's just because I'm trying to blend all this color together and make the fade look really natural. Now I'm on to my last little dot here, and I'm really packing and crowding these together, and I'm also going to try to fade it down into white, so I'm really packing it together near that darker color, and then I'm going to kind of slowly fade the color and not pack them as tightly as I move down to the bottom, and really fade that down into white. Now you could just keep the whole background going and just really tightly pack all of these, but I liked how it monochromatically really faded down into that white color at the bottom, and I think that adds a really awesome effect to this background. Now once that's finished, here's how the background came out, and now I'm going to show you how to put those 2 cards together in a really simple way to really make those backgrounds shine and really pop off the card. So all I'm doing for this first one is just taking this awesome die set from Neat and Tangled. It has that little bubble in the background that's a little bit bigger than that awesome die, but I just ended up using the die, and I cut it 3 times out of this black cardstock, and I'm adding them all together for some dimension using multi-matte medium. This just makes the die cut pop a little bit off the card, and you can layer it up with a bunch of different die cuts to get that nice texture and dimension off the card. Then I'm adding this right onto that background, and I'm going to take an acrylic block just to weigh it nicely down and make sure that everything sticks down to that card. After that's all adhered, I'm going in with the awesome stamp set that coordinates with the awesome die, and I'm going to stamp down the "looks good on you" sentiment right beneath it so it completes the sentiment. And then I'm going to kind of create this strip of cardstock that matches that background just by taking the darkest color of Altenew ink and kind of smooshing it onto a little piece of cardstock. Then I cut a little strip of that and added it right onto the card base next to that background, and that finishes that off. Now I'm using this larger die from the stamp market that's a big scripty U, and I'm going to cut that out 3 times once again out of some blue kind of tealish cardstock, and I'm adding that all together with some multi-matte medium just like the last one for some dimension. And I find that just adding these little die cuts to the cards really packs a punch for your sentiment rather than going super crazy with embellishments. So after I've added that all together, I'm going to take an ink pad and smoosh it out to the bottom of that sentiment there, which creates just a little bit of color on the die cut and variation. And then I'm going to add a little bit of a lighter color as well onto there to kind of complete the pattern and design. And I'm adding that onto my card, and then I'm going to take a sentiment from that Altenew stamp set that we used for the background that just says "Color My World." I actually ended up cutting the U off of that sentiment, but you can add it back together. And then I'm gluing that right on top of that die cut so it reads "You Color My World" in the end. And then I'm going to adhere that nicely down and add that onto a card base with some strips of that same blue cardstock on the edge. Now this next card is one of my favorites. It involves a bunch of different masking to create this little sunray pattern with a bunch of stamping coming out from this little teddy bear. So all I'm doing is taking a ruler and kind of marking where the center of my card would be. A little bit higher than the center though, because that's where all of the different rays are going to come from all the masking. So I'm creating a little point exactly where I want all of them to come from. Then I find what works best is frog tape, the delicate kind. It won't rip your cardstock at all, and it's also great for masking and watercoloring as well. So then I placed that down, and I'm going to start stamping here. I'm using this awesome stamp set from Neat and Tangled, and I'm using these 3 little asterisk kind of star looking designs to create my pattern today. I'm just kind of moving those really close together and then adding them all onto an acrylic block together. This will make stamping go a little bit faster rather than having them all separate, and all you need to do is just keep inking up the stamp and flipping the design around to kind of fit it all together like a puzzle in that masked area. Now once that's all stamped, I'm going to peel off that little tape area, and everything that was masked off won't show, and you have a nice solid line where that color was. Now you can continue reusing this tape, and every once in a while I'll grab some new pieces, but basically you're going to keep moving it over top. So I'm taping off that section where we just stamped the red, and also the area where I want the next color to be, and I'm going to start stamping the next color in the rainbow that I'm using, and stamping all of that down. Now each little section is kind of a different size. I wanted them all to be different, and so I didn't have to worry about it all being perfect, and I think it worked out pretty awesome in the end. Now it is pretty time consuming. You could definitely do this using less colors, but I wanted to test my masking ability and patience, so I did it with the whole rainbow assortment of colors that I wanted, but you can really go wild and the sky is the limit with this fun technique, and you don't just need to use this design in the center. I think hearts would be fun, or whatever kind of small stamp design you have would work great in these little masked off areas. Also, if you want those little areas to be a little bit more defined and kind of make a more striking pattern, you could take an ink blending tool and just ink blend around those masked off edges with each different color. That'll just kind of create that little stripe as well as the design inside and add a little bit more color and defining to each edge of the different sunray. I just decided to keep it really simple though with all this stamping, and once again I'll have all the different colors linked over at my blog, which the link will be below. So I'm peeling all this off, and it's like Christmas morning once you see it all together. I think it looks really awesome. And now I'm going to take this little bear that's from Pretty Pink Posh, the Bear Hug stamp set, and I'm just coloring it in using some Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. I've just taken one color here, and now I'm taking the blending pen, but you could use water as well to just blend out this color. Now I use Bristol cardstock, which kind of makes it really easy to blend out these colors, rather than just regular cardstock, which doesn't work quite as well. Then I'm going around to cut this out, leaving a little white border, and I find that moving the paper rather than the scissors also helps get a nice smooth line there. So I've added that onto some foam tape so all the sun rays are coming out from behind it. And then I'm using this Everyday Greeting stamp set from the stamp market, and I like to kind of lay over the sentiments that are in the set to see which one would work the best, and I found the Thanks for Brightening My Day fit perfectly in there, and it goes really well along with all those different colors that we used in the sunray background. So I'm adding that into a top folding card base, and that completes that one. Now for this last card, you don't need stamps to color in the images. I'm going to show you how to color some lined images on the background using just a simple pencil and its eraser on the back. So I'm using this fun Altenew Be Strong stamp set with a bunch of garden and cactus images, which I just love. And I'm just going to take all those different images and line them up in my MISTI. This just makes it super fun and easy to stamp, and you don't need to line them all up on each individual acrylic block, which saves a lot of time, and we can double stamp if we need to if it doesn't look perfect in the end. So then after I've lined all these up kind of like a puzzle, moving them kind of upside down and things like that to create my design, I'm going to take the MISTI lid and flip it over to pick up all these different stamped images, and then I'm inking it up with just a regular black ink, and I'm going to stamp it right down into my cardstock. Giving all even pressure to each image helps really get a nice impression, but like I said, if it isn't perfect, you can always restamp it. So then I can start coloring in these images with that pencil eraser. I'm again using a bunch of different colors of inks, and I'm just taking the pencil eraser and dabbing it into the ink once, and then you can dab it onto your cardstock. I find you can start dabbing about 3 times so you get a color variation of that color, so you get some different shades. And I also like to go out to the lines and kind of have fun with this. It's a really abstract, fun looking art kind of piece, so if you don't like that look, this might not be for you. But if you want a quick and easy way to color these images in and still get a really creative and fun kind of background paper look, you can use this technique. And to clean off the eraser, all you need to do is just kind of erase it onto your hand or off to another surface, and that gets rid of that layer of ink, and then you can move on to the next one. And for the cactuses, if they're inside of a pot, I just do green for the top, and then I can change the color for the bottom as well, just erasing the eraser off to make sure that all that ink is off. Now once everything is colored in, and I like to go outside of the lines a lot with it as well to make it look really abstract, I'm going to go into the background with a lighter blue color and just start dabbing into that background to fill in the rest of it and make sure it's all nice and colored in. Now when you first start out with this and you're coloring in the images, it might look bad at first, and you'll have to keep going with it to kind of fill in your design and see if you like how it looks in the end. Then I'm just taking this Hello Friend image from that same stamp set in this nice scripty font, and I'm cutting that out right around the image, just leaving a little bit of a border. And this makes it so that I can add it onto my card, but have it be nice and fitted against the edge of that so that I won't lose much of my design in the background. I've added that onto some foam tape. I'm not embellishing this too much, and then I'm just going to add that right onto a card base, and that finishes it off for this card as well. So I hope you guys really enjoyed learning how to create these fun stamped backgrounds on your cards. I think it really adds to the handmade feel, and it also helps you save a little bit of money while designing your own cards to make them look really nice and stunning. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a big thumbs up. On screen right now, there will be 2 more videos you can click on if you want to see more of my content. You can also click that subscribe button right there as well to join my channel and never miss another video like this one. If you want to click on my blog icon there, there's much more information and pictures as well as a full supplies list over there. And I'll see you guys very soon for another card making and crafting video. Bye!